So I've got a whole heap of different handlebars here. Just want to have a quick chat about bars, bar height, bar width, bar setup. So they're the Fun Kingpin I've got there on a 30mm rise. It's on the Rune. Thing's pretty savage. I've just got these Tag Metals bars, 40mm rise on the Rain, because I was looking for more height in the front and I was chasing it by going stiffer on the fork, which was ending in a poor ride quality. So I'm compensating for something that I'm doing the wrong thing to change a problem. So to address a problem. So I've gone the 40 bar and it's definitely put me where I want. It feels killer, it feels more stable at the front, everything feels better at the front. The bar itself feels really nice as well. I've had these Tag Metals before. I was gonna go a Renthal fat bar this time, but I thought, nah, let's go with the Tag again. It's a little cheaper and I was really impressed with the feel of the Tag Metals bar last time. So, and this Kingpin is really, really stiff. This Kingpin is really stiff. There's no give and it creates quite a harsh, a harsh ride, I think. There's no give, there's no, I feel everything through that bar, noticeably. Also have a little assortment of other handlebars here. So we got the Giant Contact. This is a 20mm rise, came with the bike, came with the Rain. Good bar, as in feeling wise. The roll felt great. It was just too low at the front. So I dealt with it, spent some time trying to raise the front and whatever, and then I thought, nah, I'll just change the bar. So I got my Bontrager line bars, which are the bars that came on. So these came on my Remedy, these came on my Slash. Remedy ones still haven't been cut or used, so they're killer. Now the compliance on these bars is quite good. So they're not super stiff, but they're quite compliant. So I'm happy with them. That's a 35 clamp diameter. All these are 35s, except for the Deity. The Deity is a 31.8. Now, this bar has got, as you can see, 27.5 rise. So nearly a 30mm rise, not quite a 30 from the 20. 4 degree up sweep, 9 degree back sweep. So your up sweep is obviously how much your bars come up, and your back sweep's how much the bars come back at you. Now, let me turn this camera around. So all bars have got a little bit of up sweep, a little bit of back sweep, and everyone's kind of got their own philosophy of how much. There's a new-ish movement towards like a 12 degree back sweep around those numbers, which I think is a little bit excessive, but I don't know yet because I haven't really tested it too much. But this is a 4 degree up, 9 degree back sweep, these ones, which I think I'm starting to prefer. So I used to run a 4, I think it was a 4 up, 9 back on the old Nuke Proof bars way back. We're probably talking 2013, 2014, 2015 kind of thing. And then I went back to the Renthal, which is a 7 and 5. So 7 back, 5 up. And then when I had the Slash, I went to these Tag Metals, which are 7 back, 5 up. And then the Giant bar, ooh, this is going to test my memory. I wonder if it's got it. It does, yeah. So the Giant's 9 back and 5 up, which felt really good, felt really natural, but like I said, too low. I wanted to go back to the 7 and 5 to see what the go was. So with the 7 and 5, I'm finding that I'm having to roll the bar back a little further to get that hand position right. So my hands aren't like that, they're kind of like that when I'm laid over, pushing the front in to change directions and whatnot. So whenever I set handlebars up on a bike, it'll be out the front or on the street or in a car park, lefts and rights, cutties, figure eights, landing and turning, feeling how my hands are interacting with each other. So as I'm landing, if I'm pushing to, that's a bit too wide a bar for me. Let's say the bar that I've just cut. So rolled there, I'm pushing. Oh, it feels like I need to roll it back a bit. Roll it back a bit. Oh, it's, it feels like my hands are arguing a little bit. Roll it forward a bit. Yep. Oh, it feels like the relationship between the tire and the bar and where my hands are is a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker, a little bit weaker, a little bit less. You know, you roll it too far forward, it feels like I'm tucking the front or something like that. You find that position. And what I'm finding is I think I'm preferring, at the moment with these tag metal bars on, I like that 7 and 5. I really do. But in my hunt for the right roll, I've had to lose a little bit of reach to get closer to what I think is my preferred of a 9 degree or at least an 8 degree back sweep, which is the deity or the deity. I believe this is a 5 and 8, so 5 up, 8 back, so probably the perfect bar. In orders of compliance on the deity, this is a 31.8, so it's hard to compare to these three, these 4, 6, but strong, stiff, not super harsh, especially with the 31.8. So I haven't ridden these bars for a while because I haven't ridden a 31.8 clamp for a little while. But not super harsh, but still quite stiff. So I like those bars, definitely like them, and I like the sweep. This tag metal bar, here with this riding, if you can see that, I don't have my clamp even with the riding here. Let me move that camera. So you can see here, it's very, it's not central, it's not center. But if I measure from center of my steerer to the outside of my bars, I cut them right on there. So they've got markings for your levers over here, and they also have markings for your cut ends. So there was zero guesswork in the cuts. So I cut it right on 750. So with my grip, we're looking at a 760 bar. But when I mounted it up central, it was the difference between the center and the left point and the center and the right point were way different. So I've had to shimmy it to get that dead center. So I guess it's a reminder that not all of this printing and whatever is necessarily going to be in the center. You still have to double check. You still have to make sure that your bar is central according to your clamp and your steerer. Not just, oh, you know, the sticker said it was central and it's on the 0, so that's the right roll and that's the right position and whatever. Find your roll by riding. Don't trust the numbers. And find your center position by your tape measure. So measuring from the end of the bar to the center and from the other end of the bar to the center. Simple stuff, but definitely pay attention to that because it can catch you out and you'll end up with an uneven bike and wondering why all of a sudden you can't ride as balanced as you always have. Now this fun handlebar, this fun kingpin, I got it to match the stem and match the front wheel that I had on this bike. And I've learned over time after building this bike that the front wheel that I had on it, the Fun AM, is quite stiff and harsh. And this Fun handlebar is quite stiff and harsh. So now after getting this Tag Metals bar, I'm thinking I may get either another Tag Metals 40mm rise for this, just to get the riser up, because my my steerer on this fork is quite short, so I can't get any real height out of it without getting a different fork. So probably going to leave it. The stem's got a 10mm rise in it, which is nice. I think it's 10mm. So the stem rises a little bit, and then the 30mm rise bar brings me to about 1080 on the front of this bike, which is nice. It's a nice height. I like to match my bar height with my bottom bracket height or bottom bracket feeling. I don't know what the numbers are or whatever, but when I get to, you know, get that sag working right in the back of any bike, I've got to get the front end to match as well. I've got to get my handlebar height to match as well. So when I'm digging into a turn, I'm not pitching my body weight forward. I'm still in a good balanced position to push and get back and get my weight over top of the pedals so I can sprint out of something. So I'm not forward, back kind of thing too much. Yeah, but these Kingpin, I think these bars are just the harshest bars I've used. I think that's the whole Banshee room project that I've had here, trying to build, what I thought was going to be my favorite bike, has had some shortcomings by me putting some non-compliant or less compliant components on here. So maybe one day I'll chuck the 38 on here as well and test it. I don't know. It's still for sale. If someone wants it, they can buy it. But I just don't feel like I'm finished with this bike yet. I'm not quite done with, like, I haven't even really been able to give it a full like detailed review where I know all the ins and outs of this bike, because whenever I change something, I think, oh, maybe I missed that, or oh, that maybe my overall opinion of it was skewed by, so and so. For instance, the wheel, the harsh wheel, or the harsh handlebar. So I know till I change it all over, and it's been a rough year actually. It's been a bit of a, not rough year, but it's been an inconvenient year. So I haven't had my van for most of the year. We've got hail damage happening now. We've got hail damage getting fixed. I've been waiting for over 18 months for that. And I've had some other mechanical issues over the course of this year that I've had to go back and forth. So I really haven't been able to drive that. So I haven't been able to get out to trails and do too much testing. Everything's been local. Everything's been Moriata, Waterfall Gully, Horsenals Gully. And it's mostly just been on this bike. So back to BAARZ. Get your bar width right as well. So these bikes here are both, I would consider them medium-sized bikes. The Banshees are large on, the Banshees are large on paper. The Reigns are medium on paper. They're very similar size feeling bikes. This actually feels a little longer, a little less, little more roomy, a little less cramped. Even with this high-rise bar, I'm shortening the reach. It just feels very similar, very similar. This has got a higher bottom bracket. This is full 29er now. I've been riding it in a mullet for quite a while. But size of the bike almost always governs the width of your handlebar, I think. Partially the rider, definitely. The rider governs the width of the handlebar, but I think it's a lot to do with the bike. So a short hardtail, for me, 740. Definitely 740. Anything over 740, and it feels like I've got too wide a bar for the amount of bike I have and the amount of bike I'm trying to lean over and turn and whatever. A really long bike at 740 or 750 will feel like it's a little bit like this. So I'd need to get out to 760, 770. Could even go a 780 on a nice big bike. Not too long where I'm reaching, because that 780 will make my reach even worse. It'll make everything feel longer again. But a tall, well-fitted bike like my Rain or my old Slash, definitely 760, 770 outside to outside. Narrower feels a little wonky. So if you're a big tall dude, running an extra large bike, then yeah, you probably want your 780. But I don't think you want any wider than that, because you're dealing with trees, you're dealing with narrow passes through rock sections, you're dealing with, there's so many things that you've got to deal with. So you've got to make sure that you're wide enough for yourself, for your build and for your bike size, but you're not so wide that it hinders your ride or creates more risk with clipping trees and whatnot. A little narrower is easier to deal with than a little wider, for sure, especially if you're on the edge of, oh, my bike's a little bit big for me, but I prefer a bigger bike than a smaller bike. You definitely don't want that wider versus, you're better off with a little narrower. But you want to be perfect, but yeah. And then bar roll, you need to find your bar roll through lefts and rights, cutties, figure eights. Absolutely. You need to be doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, change it a little bit, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, change it a little bit, back and forth, so and so. So just to make sure that you're not missing anything and it's as confident as you can have that front end feeling. Bar height, raising it, lowering it, raising it, lowering it. Like I've gone so this is at 1085 height now, the Rain. And I've got I've got 5 mil spaces in there. So I can bring it down to 1080, which I probably will. I'll take one 5 mil spacer out. 1080 to 1085 is perfect for the 29er. When I go back to mullet, it'll drop back down. I'll have to drop it down to maybe 1075, 1080. Mullet, it felt okay. The front end height felt okay. Still a little bit reaching. I've spent a lot of time in mullet on this bike, as much as 29er for sure. So not ready to do a review on the bike yet. I could do a review on it, but I haven't found the complete ins and outs of it. And I'm still messing around with coils and yeah, still trying to find that sweet spot. I think maybe this Marzocchi bomber that I've got on here, I've had a light compression and light rebound, because the new Marzocchi bombers feel real slow on the rebound. So this is much better with the light rebound tune, a more open rebound tune. But maybe I've gone a little too light on the compression now, because I've got I've got good support when I'm doing most things, but a real fast impact, I've got no bottom out support. It just goes straight to the bottom. So maybe I've gone a step too far with the compression there, going too light on the compression. 350 to 375 springs seems to be my wheelhouse on the 29er. On the 27.5, I can't go to that 375 spring. It's too stiff. It's like it's got three different positions. So it's got low, medium, and high on the flip chip. The high position seems to be the most progressive. The medium seems to be really nice. Doesn't have too much progression there. It's closer to the low, and then the low spot is the most linear of the setups. So still playing with it, loving it. Easy bike to ride. Size is perfect. I won't get too carried on with the rain. We're talking about handlebars, but yeah, get your handlebar roll right, get your width right, get your height right, and your bike will be more confident for sure. Yeah, if it's a full 27.5, 1070 to 1080, yeah, 1070 is fine. 10 to up to 1080. 1080 might be getting a little bit tall. And it kind of changes with the shorter travel bike as well a little bit, but not too much. Not too much. I'm talking for a 160, 170, standard enduro. Most people are riding from a 150 to a 170 bike at the moment, or 140 to 170 bike. Let's just talk fork. That most people are running 150 to 180 at the front. And yeah, so those heights definitely apply to you if you're running that kind of travel. Full 29er, anywhere up to 1090 is fine, in my opinion. If you're looking at, say, like a bike with a higher bottom bracket like the Pole, you could go up to 1100. That Pole Voima, I had to be in the 1110s or 1120s or something to match what the rear end was doing, because such a tall bike and long travel bike, obviously. But yeah, have a think about it. And the number one is that bar roll. Get that bar roll right, and you will have so much more confidence and control of your bike. And the height. Get the bar roll number one and the height number 1.5, almost number two. Get those two things right, and you'll be singing. And bar compliance. Why don't I run carbon bars? Because carbon, everything can break, but if a carbon bar breaks, it is a very, very bad crash 9 times out of 10. You have to clamp things to your carbon. You have to clamp like these all of this stuff, especially your grips. Your grips have only got one clamp these days. Some people are still running double clamps, but most grips are still one clamp. So you've got to put more tension on that clamp. So you're eating into and you're damaging that carbon potentially. So I don't like, you have a crash and your brake moves around a little bit, you've got issues. You've got a little score on the carbon, weak spot where it can snap. Sure, you can do it with alloy as well, but I don't think they're anywhere near as susceptible to snapping as a carbon bar. So carbon's out of the question completely for me on a handlebar. Handlebars and cranks, non-negotiable. Never, ever, ever carbon handlebars or cranks. Carbon other stuff, no worries. You can go crazy with your carbon frame. You can go crazy with your carbon bash guards, your this, that, and the other. But, yeah, broken ankles, broken wrists, and broken faces. Nah, no thanks. I guess I'll wrap it up. All these bars are good. These are heaps of, most of your OEM bars are quite compliant. They're quite nice, a little bit heavier usually. This Giant bar feels really good. It's not super heavy. The Bontrager's lighter than the Giant bar. This race face is killer. This race face bar feels really, really good. That's a 30mm rise. Can't remember what the roll was, but I always remember it feeling good and dense and nice and compliant. Deity feels great. And again, Bontrager. The Bontrager bar feels good, a little bit flexy. So don't buy the Fun bar. I think that's really, really harsh. Really, really harsh bar. Unfortunate, but Yeah, their stem's killer. Their front wheel's harsh as. Um, yeah, Tag Metals feels killer. That feels really a really good bar. The Renthal's a little stiffer. Still feels really good, but maybe a little more feedback. Yeah, just shop around, test different things and see what you think. But get that height right and get that bar roll right.